And at this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we'll ask for a moment of silence, and it's a good time to silence your cell phones as well, please. Thank you. Is there board member statements? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I would like to give an update of how busy I have been and my events in the district. I was able to, at Fine Arts Academy, attend their play that they held with the Missoula Children's Theater and got to see some amazing students who worked so hard, and I just want to applaud all the work that went into putting that event on in a week and all the hard work of our staff and our students. I also was able to attend the Fine Arts Choir sang at a Diamondbacks game, so I got to attend that and see some of our students shine. I went to Collier's Business Academy's curriculum night, and my son learned how much groceries are. He left telling me that he didn't understand how I could afford that. So thank you, Collier, for maybe helping my grocery bill a little. He doesn't throw away food as much as he did, so thank you. I was able to go to Estrella Vista's curriculum night, where it was so great to, my daughter got to sign the Constitution when she went to see the 6th grade, and she made paper airplanes, and it was awesome just like walking around and seeing everything that our teachers at Estrella Vista are doing to embrace the love of learning in our students, and thank you to those teachers who stayed late that night. And then probably the best thing that happened in the past month was I got to chaperone the 6th grade field trip to Prescott, and I got to see some amazing students from all of our schools. I spent my day with students from Country Place and my evenings with students from Fine Arts and Quinton. Thank you to all the staff whose countless hours were spent organizing that event before and during the event. We were there. The staff truly embraced the feeling that all the students were our students. There was no, oh, that student goes to Country Place, you have to go talk to that teacher or that person. It was, they're all Littleton students, let's care for them and make sure that they have an enjoyable experience, and seeing the bonds that were created between our students from across campuses was awesome. My daughter left having friends from Quinton, friends from Country Place, and she talks about them still. And even our facilitator on the very last day looked at me and she goes, wait, they go to different schools? Because the kids just were together and they were embracing it and learning and having an amazing experience. I do want to give a huge thank you to all the parents who volunteered their 3 days chaperoning that event, staying in cabins, not sleeping as much as they probably are used to on beds that were not as comfortable as our home beds. Because that camp can't happen if we don't have the support of all of our families. And that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to follow that? We're going to give it to Amy. So thank you, Amy, for all that. At this time, we're going to turn it over to Dr. Freeman to give his superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam President. Buenas tardes a todos, and good evening, everybody. Due to the fall break next week, our meeting is being held this week, so thank you all for being here. We hope you and your families have a wonderful and restful fall break. Great time to enjoy some fall activities such as visiting a pumpkin patch or going up north, watch the leaves turn colors, or simply spending some quality time with family. We don't want anybody to miss school to go to the fair. So if that's on your list, please be sure to do that over break. School resumes the following Monday, October 14th, and we look forward to seeing everybody back refreshed and ready to continue the school year with really good attendance. Our congratulations go to Ms. Sousnick for receiving the Associate of Boardsmanship Certificate from the School Boards Association. That's over 60 hours of continuing education units, or CEUs, and to Miss Barnett for receiving her certificate of boardsmanship. And that is 36 CEUs. I don't know if that was all in 1 year or total, but that's a lot of time that they give to the association and to their ongoing professional development. We appreciate their efforts to increase their knowledge and attending conferences and workshops and webinars and those kind of things. There's a lot of work that goes into being a board member, and the pay is absolutely stunningly small. There's just 1 week left to register to vote by October 7th, and we'll be sending out a reminder to our new families. This year, nearly 1 in 5 students are new to Littleton schools, and it's possible that changing their voter registration when they were moving their families was not on the top of their to-do lists. So it's actually pretty easy to register, and you can find links on our website and on elections website, and we'll be happy to help you so you can vote in Littleton and Tolleson and LD22, Phoenix and the right precinct. They're having elections too, so having the right address and the right ballot is important, and we want to remind everybody the critical importance of voting. Your voice matters, and it's essential that we role model participation in the democratic process for our kids. When you get your 2-page long front and back ballot, we encourage you to ensure you look for and answer our governing board question at the very bottom. The board's asking voters if they'll reauthorize the district additional assistance, and if approved, that override funds support continuation of the district's current one-to-one technology plan. That's where we get computers for all the kids, as well as replacements, the purchase of additional student transportation vehicles, and continuation of other instructional materials, textbooks, software. A lot of our stuff is online now, as well as some facility improvements as needed. The average impact per home in 2026 will be about 5 cents a day, but that goes down each year as the district grows. And so we're often reminded individuals who are anti-tax or anti-public education may be casting their votes to limit our programs, or even what I hear in today's news, abolish public education altogether. So we need to make sure voices in our community are heard. Remember, it's a continuation of support for our children's education, so there'd be cuts to the programs if it wasn't reauthorized. In addition to voter registration, the deadline is October 25th to request an early ballot. If you want to do that, folks can find a link on our website for that as well. We have an elections tab. If you click on there, ballots will begin being mailed October 9th, and we don't have any way of knowing which batches are going out what day, but that's just a little more than a week away. And vote centers and drop boxes will begin opening up at that time too. We will have a drop box at our Welcome Center, which is here on this campus at the Underdown Learning Center. If you're returning your ballot by mail, you have to have that postmarked no later than October 29th. Avondale City Hall also has a drop-off and a place for in-person voting as well, and a complete list of those voter center locations, drop boxes, and hours of operation is available just by visiting elections.maricopa.gov. So our schools continued last month commemorating 9/11 to honor the lives lost and the heroes who emerged on that day. And our meeting last month was a little too early to get a good report, so we're reporting that in October, all of the annual patriotic events that were happening at our schools. And I want to tell everybody about a variety of those and what our students learned about the historical significance of the event and the unifying values that arose from the attack. At Collier Business Academy, the youngest students discussed the role of community helpers and created thank you cards for local first responders. The middle school students explored different events, their historical context, the nation's resilience, and had classroom discussions, reflective writing activities, and I think also looked at a documentary. The Estrella Vista STEM Academy second graders created memorial ribbons. Eighth graders had one-pager to inform others on the events that occurred, not only in that day, but in the aftermath as well. The Freeman Fine Arts Academy staff and students were encouraged to show their patriotism by wearing red, white, or blue tops, and the choir students gave a remarkable rendition of the national anthem, followed by a Patriot State poem over the announcements. Over at Lake and Prep, 9/11 began with an extended moment of silence in honor of the lives lost to pay tribute to our first responders. Trace Rios Service Academy received a visit from Mr. Anton, who spoke on how 9/11 affected him and his family, leading him to join the Army and later become a firefighter. And then students created remembrance bulletin boards and decorated doors, and it was a really uplifting activity for the entire Puma community. Our Freeman Fine Arts Academy choir was invited to present at the Kids at Hope Masters Institute, and they delighted the audience with a presentation for the Dean's Recognition Luncheon by singing our district theme song for the year. In the Hope Honors Program intermission, they sang This Is My Wish, Lean on Me, and You're My Sunshine with reprise. The conference has representation of educators and youth advocates from all across the U.S., and our kids received a resounding ovation from the audience. After the performance, everybody had lunch at Cane's, and they even sang for the restaurant staff before getting back on the bus. Miss Lieberman, their teacher, is always so gracious and willing to put extra effort into to showcase our students' talent, and we owe a special thanks to families who loaned us their children on one of the days off from school, because that was last Wednesday when we were in service. Our schools also started the first quarter highlighting Kids at Hope destinations, as we believe students will be more dedicated and engaged to their learning when they can time travel to the future. So we use these destinations as a way for kids to visualize all they can be as adults. Some schools combine activities with curriculum nights, and others had family engagement opportunities. Others had numerous events. Just to give you an example, these first 2 months, the Freeman's Fine Art Academy already held a curriculum night, a Peter Piper night, 2 Falcon Fests, their Kids at Hope night, and had a presentation of The Wizard of Oz with Missoula Theater. And I don't know what you thought, but I thought the flowers stole the show. Last time it was the skunks.
I have to say Toto, but that's because it was my daughter.
Oh, okay. The first Kids at Hope night focused on hobbies and recreation with their second annual family volleyball night, sponsored by the PTSA, and that event had pitted students versus staff and parents, which was a mostly friendly competition. Collier's Kids at Hope Destination Night was held in partnership with Arizona Council on Economic Education and B&K Bank, and that focused on financial literacy and future planning. Students were assigned a life scenario. They had to create a budget based on their income, expenses, and financial responsibilities, and families had valuable conversations about setting their goals and making informed financial choices, and evidently including even groceries. At Trace Rios, the Puma Nation combined their curriculum party night with students receiving their learning bingo cards, and so Title I information, additional curriculum resources were shared with family as they rotated through those different stations to create math and reading games to use at home, and the event featured music, food, and dancing, and making learning fun, a fun experience for everybody. A Day in the Life of a Lion was a huge success at Lake and Prep. Parents learned more about dual language program and the International Baccalaureate for primary years. Presentation with audio for parents who couldn't attend in person was made available for families, and they were able to enjoy the opportunity to learn all things Laken. The Littleton Online is planning their second annual Family Destination virtual event. These guys are really creative when it comes to digital learning. Students are creating a slideshow celebrating their unique families to present at the school-wide virtual event. At Estrella Vista, Quinton, and Littleton STEM Academies are highlighting hobbies and recreation for their fall festivals with games and prizes. Estrella Vista will feature the annual haunted bus put on by our transportation, and it's being featured at different schools, different years, and so all of our schools will have a feature trunk or treat type of event. So follow your school's news for information on dates and times where your kids attend. The PTAs have been busy getting ready for some fun fundraising going on already. Country Place, Fine Arts, Littleton STEM reported having their first Peter Piper pizza nights. Appreciate everybody going and getting pizza. They've had attendance competitions for free pizzas and visits for mascots, games, and contests. Collier's PTSA hosted an evening filled with bingo, food, and fun, and their turnout was fantastic. They've been having some great crowds at their school events, and it was heartwarming to see so many parents and students and staff connecting in that little bit more relaxed atmosphere. Sixth graders from all over the school district spent 2 nights in the Pines outside of Prescott, as Ms. Sausnick referred to, and we weren't able to spare a bus during the week to make 2 round trips to the mountains, so the students and chaperones got to experience a charter coach. And we want to thank the parent volunteers, including Member Sosnick, for helping with the students and contributing the cost so we didn't have to pass that along to students. That was very generous of you. It was a great experience for our students who will remember that event, I think, for the rest of their lives. And I'd like to remind our families about the importance of attending parent, teacher, student conferences this week. They start tomorrow through Friday, and students will be sharing their grades and goals and progress with their families and have an opportunity to set some goals, talk to their parents about what their goals should be and how to monitor those at home with their children. Our next big community engagement opportunity is tomorrow. If you're not busy in the morning here at the Underdown Learning Center, you can join us for Coffee with a Cop. There'll be coffee and pastries between 7:30 and 10, and most importantly, an opportunity to ask questions or express appreciation to our police force for keeping our community safe. As the board's considering the contract for an interim superintendent this evening, our transition plans will be underway. The person that will join us, if approved tonight, will join us at our meeting on October 22nd, and then we'll be sitting in my chair for the November regular meeting on November 12th. This means that tonight, I'm concluding my final board report as your superintendent. I will continue to support the district through December as needed, but a new person will be making this seat will be taking this seat at the DS. Reporting on the growth and accomplishments of our students and staff and community have been a privilege that I have looked forward to for more than 18 years. This is my 19th year as superintendent, and my 40th year in public education, including teaching and school level leadership. In 2025, I'll be looking forward to hearing about the ongoing growth and success of the Littleton School District, but from a different seat. I wish you all continued success. In closing, I'd like to express our thanks to members of the PTO for everything they do to support our schools throughout the year. Rick Miller at the Masters Institute for the $350 donation to Freeman Fine Arts Academy to cover their travel up to the conference. And Madam President, that's all I have this evening.
Want to do it now? All right, so Dr. Freeman, we recognize all of the dedicated service you have done. And now on behalf of the board, we'll all stand up. We would like to present you with the plaque. And I'm going to read it because it's very fitting. It says, Dear Roger Freeman, 2006 to 2024. Presented by the Littleton Elementary School District Governing Board, which includes this board and other boards that you have also set here. And few people. In grateful recognition of your extraordinary leadership, dedication, and unwavering commitment to public education. Your visionary guidance has profoundly impacted our community and inspired countless students, educators, and families. Your many contributions will be long endured. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And a hug. We're going to wait and take a photo when Sarah can join us so that the whole board is here, but thank you. You can take one of them by himself with his plaque if you want to go down. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, there you go. Go, go. I'll go with you just so it doesn't look weird. All right, next we're moving on to the reading of the proclamation. And Amy, you're going to read the bullying? You're reading? No? You're reading. Thank you very much.
Whereas bullying is physical, verbal, sexual, or emotional harm or intimidation intentionally directed to a person or group of people, and whereas bullying occurs in neighborhoods, on playgrounds, in schools, and through technology, whereas various researchers have concluded that bullying is the most common form of violence affecting millions of American children and adolescents annually, and whereas children who bully are at a greater risk of engaging in more serious violent behaviors, and whereas children who witness bullying often feel less secure, more fearful, and intimidated. Now therefore, the governing board of the Littleton Elementary School District do hereby proclaim October as National Bullying Prevention Month. And be it further resolved that Littleton schools, students, parents, and community organizations be encouraged to engage in a variety of awareness and prevention activities designated to make our community safer for all children and adolescents, and that Littleton stands firmly against bullying, including cyberbullying and all forms of harmful behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, you're taking the next one? Thank you.
Proclamation of October as National Principals Awareness Month. Whereas the Littleton School District Governing Board, in coordination with the U.S. Congress, has declared the month of October as National Principals Month, and whereas principals are expected to be educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, disciplinarians, community builders, budget analysts, facilities managers, and special programs administrators, and whereas principals are entrusted with the education and development of young minds and people, and whereas the principals set the academic tone for their schools and work collaboratively with staff to develop and maintain high curriculum standards, develop mission statement, and set performance goals and objectives for schools to achieve educational excellence, and whereas the courageous vision, dedication, and determination of a principal provides the mobilizing force behind any school reform effort, and whereas to honor and recognize the contribution of all school principals and their assistance to the success of students in the Littleton Elementary School District, and now therefore it be resolved in honor of all the service of all school principals and to recognize the importance of their school leadership so that every child has access to a high quality education and to celebrate school leader accomplishments, the month of October is hereby designated in all Littleton School District to be National Principals Awareness Month.
Thank you. So moving along, we're moving on to Ms. Garrison, the program showcase.
Madam President, Governing Board, I'd like to introduce Dr. Mike Cagle and his Lighthouse crew from the Country Place Leadership Academy. They are going to discuss achieving Lighthouse status and give you some Leader in Me updates. He'll all. Oh, go ahead.
Say it's a little bit of a Country Place takeover today, so. So good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Freeman, our members of the E-team, our students and staff and community members that are present, and anyone watching around the world, hopefully. We're excited to share some amazing accomplishments that are going on at Country Place Leadership Academy. I have 4 incredible leaders that are representing the over 1,000 students and staff that make magic at our school every day, and they're going to talk to you a little bit about what it means to become a Lighthouse school, and also a really amazing accomplishment that we're working on with our Student Lighthouse team. So, Naimal, you want to lead them on? Yep, you're first.
Okay. Hi, my name is Naima, and I am on the Physical Environment Action Team. I have been on the Lighthouse team since 2nd grade. Country Place Leadership Academy is proud to be a Leader in Me school. There are over 2,500 Leader in Me schools in more than 50 countries around the world. Of those schools, about 600 have the distinct of being a Lighthouse school. Lighthouse schools show their leadership by the principal and staff are learning the 7 habits and being champions for the leadership at their school. Leadership lessons are modeled and taught to all the students. Families and the school partner together in learning the 7 habits. Students show leadership through leadership roles on campus and leadership events. Students can lead their own learnings, set goals, and carry out action plans. Leadership can be seen throughout the school, in the walls, and you can feel the culture of caring.
Hello, my name is Mia. I am on the Staff Learning Action Team. I have been on Lighthouse team for 3 years. We wanted to become a Lighthouse school because it shows that we are one of the best leadership schools in the state of Arizona. The staff asked our student Lighthouse team members if we thought we were ready to go for it. We said we were ready. One day we had student Lighthouse meeting and we had guests from Franklin Covey. We showed them how leadership works at our school. Every leadership school is unique and different. We gave them a tour of our school. They interviewed students, staff, and parents. They took lots of notes. One of the aspects of our school that makes us special are the murals and paintings on our walls. They are student designed, students created, and highlight the 7 habits and our leadership paradigms. My favorite mural is in the kindergarten and 1st grade hallway. The hallway is covered in flowers. The colors are vibrant and make me think of summer and happiness. The best part is the flower petals are student handprints, including mine.
Hello, my name is Exton. I am the Leadership Roles Action Team. The Leader in Me impacts students in over 2,500 schools in more than 50 countries. In each of these schools, there is a group of student leaders called the Student Lighthouse Team. Their job is to make the school a better place for everyone. They synergize together with the staff, students, and parents. To improve the leadership and learning throughout the community, Country Place is starting a positive trend that we want to go viral. Last year, we traveled to Santan Elementary School in Gilbert to meet the Student Lighthouse team from Santan and Ironwood. We participated in leadership activities and learned from each other. This was the first event of its kind ever in the world, as far as we know. This year, we invited the Students Lighthouse team from Valley View Elementary to visit Country Place to lead and learn together. Do you know what the best part was? The pizza.
Hello, my name is Callie, and I am on one of the Family Learning Action Team. I must disagree with Exton. I think the best part of the Student Lighthouse Community Learning Day was the speaker. That was me. I spoke to about 100 students and staff from Valley View, Barbara Roby Elementary School, and Country Place. I was a little nervous. I started with them how we interviewed for the Student Lighthouse team at Country Place. We all stayed after school. Current Lighthouse members or OG members and staff members interviewed to the prospective Lighthouse team members. After the interviews, we reviewed the results and made recommendations. I was nervous because I never interviewed anyone before. And now I am excited and confident. I am thankful for the opportunities to grow my leadership by speaking in front of larger and larger groups. I now know that I can speak in front of large groups and I can accomplish anything. By the way, the pizza was good.
They were a little bit nervous.
Is this a large group
Is this large? What do you guys think?
or medium?
What do you think? This is normal for them. This is easy.
Well, we want to salute you. You did wonderful. It's kind of scary to get up here and start talking, but Dr. Freeman leaned over and said he would have no idea you were all excellent speakers, and we even wanted to know what grade you were in. So congratulations on doing a great job.
Good job, guys. They're like, whew, I get to sit down. But again, we became a lighthouse school. Again, there are 12 in the state of Arizona. We are one of them. We did go and visit. We started something new. One of the great things about leadership is it grows. Part of what we're hoping kind of catches fire is this idea of student lighthouse teams meeting together and learning together. And so we had the opportunity to go out to Santan and meet with Ironwood in our school, and also Santan and Gilbert, and it was a great experience. So we're inviting other schools to our school and going to visit other places, getting great ideas. The synergy that happens is really incredible, seeing the kids working together. So we're really proud of the work that they're doing. So this 4 amazing leaders that represent all of the leaders at our school, and our students are incredible. So I am very blessed to be able to work with them and for them, and I thank you for giving us that opportunity and supporting the leadership program that we have at Country Place. It makes a huge difference, so thank you very much.
We also will take an opportunity to thank you, because without you and your guidance and your leadership, none of that would be possible. So thank you for coming every day and giving everything you have. We appreciate it.
If he's gone, they can run the school.
Well,
Exactly.
that's what I'm thinking. They really
Hire smart
don't
people,
need them
get out of
now.
the way, you
You've
know?
done such a great job, they may not need you, so.
That's right. And now we're going to recognize our Volunteer of the Month.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Mike Cagle, Principal at Country Place Leadership Academy.
And I'm Miss Bree, the administrative assistant here also at Country Place.
We're very excited to announce our Volunteer of the Month, Melissa Diaz-Acosta.
Woohoo! So, Melissa, we're just so thankful and honored, honestly, that you became part of our PTA and that you're just an awesome mom here that's always supporting us. We have grown so much just with you being in our school. You're always so welcoming to ideas that we have and supportive of the things that we're needing done here at Country Place. We just really want to say thank you, and that we are extremely blessed that you're always so available for us. You're always able to come in and support us, so thank you so much.
And thank you for getting our PTA up and running again, and all the support that you gave us on our first annual Student Lighthouse Community Learning Day. We really appreciate you, and thank you for everything that you do.
And she got the pizza for us, so that she was like the highlight. And I don't know, I don't think is she here today? I didn't see her yet. Oh, she's back in the back. Come on up. She's hiding. Come on up.
You can come here, or we'll come to you.
Well, she's got to come get her flowers, so, you know. That is what happens when you go to your first parent conference and you tell the principal that you used to be the president of your school, your former school's PTA. Just saying. And now we'll recognize our Kid at Hope of the Month.
Hi, my name is Callie Guerrero. I go to CPLA, which is Country Place Leadership Academy. I got selected for the Kid at Hope of the month. And I show leadership, hardworking, and helpful, because I help around my class every year, and I would like to thank Miss Felix, Miss Zaragoza, Miss Hill, Miss McAlpine, and Miss Meza, because they show leadership and they show hard working, and every time I don't get something, they help me understand what the assignment is. And thank you for nominating me for the Kid at Hope.
Boom. Come on over here. This is for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cagle. Next up, I'd like to welcome Mr. Kellen Thornton to the podium. Woo-woo! He's going to help us celebrate our first quarter champions along with our athletes of the season. Aaliyah Cooper from Collier Business Academy and Anthony Marquez Nunez from Country Place Leadership Academy. Go ahead, Mr. Thornton.
Thank you. How you guys doing today? Good to see everyone. Like I said, we just finished up quarter one. Quarter one sports are girls basketball and co-ed flag football. This is our mission statement for sports. So first quarter was basketball and co-ed flag football. Second quarter will start after fall break. We have girls soccer and boys basketball, and we're also introducing esports. They're the kids, and that's only available right now at Littleton Online, Tres Rios, Collier, and Quinton. The students will be competing in Mario Kart, the game on the Switch. So I'm excited for that to start, for sure. So for the champions for quarter one, everybody who was helped make this quarter one go smooth has one athletic coordinator, which is myself. We had 8 site coordinators, 7 assistant principals, 3 deans, and we had 31 coaches this quarter. That's our flyer. For quarter one champions for girls basketball, we have the Collier Coyotes. They're coached by Sean Berry and Manuel Torres. We don't have their banners in yet, but if we would like for them to come up and get a picture at least. Collier? If you're here. The Collier Coyotes were also undefeated this year. So, as well. I'll hear that. At the end of the season, we ask the coaches to nominate. Oh, sorry. At the end of the season, at the end of the quarter, we like for the coaches to nominate an athlete of the season. For the Collier Coyotes, it's Aaliyah Cooper. Her coach wrote, Aaliyah is a leader on the court and in practice that the other players look up to. She's always supportive of her teammates and respectful to the coaches. She has dominated as an athlete this season and scored over 100 points. Her defense was also a big factor in helping Collier winning the championship. Right. All right, and for co-ed flag football, the Country Place Mustangs. They are coached by Braden Crow. Yeah, come on up, get your picture.
Told you it was a takeover.
Right. Yep. The athlete of the season for co-ed football, flag football, is Anthony Marquez Nunez. His coach wrote, Tony has been a great player for Country Place flag football team for the past 3 seasons. His consistent play and positive attitude was a major factor in our team's success. Tony is a great teammate, and he's always willing to do what is best for the team. His coach is proud of him, and has been fun watching him grow into a leader over the past 3 years. I think that's it for me. Season 2 again starts with tryouts after fall break, October 15th through the 18th, and our first games are October 29th.
So again, we thank you for your dedication and going above and beyond to make sure these students have an amazing experience. So thank you for your dedication as well.
Thank you.
At this time, we're moving on to the call to the public, and we do have Curtis Nilsson, if you'll come to the podium, please. And while you're walking, I'll give my little disclaimer here. According to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, any matter brought before the board by members of the audience may not be acted upon at this meeting. In order to allow time for everyone to participate, comments should be limited to 3 minutes. No disparagement, name-calling, personal attacks upon board members, staff personnel, or other persons in attendance or absent will be permitted by individuals who address the board. Thank you.
Sound like an insurance agent reading the fine print. Thank you. Madam President, members of the school board, Dr. Freeman, I just want to take a minute tonight to express my love and appreciation for Dr. Freeman. I'm not going to be able to be at some of the events that are planned for the next couple of months, so I wanted to come tonight and just share with you some of my thoughts, Dr. Freeman, and how much I appreciate you. My dear wife Sandy was on the board in 2006 when they went through the same process that you will be going through to select a new superintendent. After she came home, she just laid there on the couch and said, you know what? I really appreciate Dr. Freeman. He's a humble man. He's got vision and some great ideas that will take this school district to new levels that haven't been seen in a long time. I wish he was here to see him participate in what you've done here for the school board. Trying to calculate how many students may have come and gone through this school district in the time period, I may be way off, but I've come up with somewhere between 20 and 22,000. That's a lot of kids that you and other staff members have had opportunities to touch, influence with your life, with their lives, and give them an opportunity to get an education to be successful in the future, whatever that education might be. I appreciate the time that I've been able to spend with you over the past years when I was on the school board, and I'm grateful for your insight as to what needed to be done. I don't think there was a report that was done either weekly or bi-weekly that you didn't include things that were happening all around the United States that we needed to be aware of as a school board to see what would happen so it didn't come here, so it did come here, or we knew how to handle it when those particular things came up. You, the board, the staff muddled your way through COVID. That was not one of the anticipated things in anybody's life. I think we've all made it, but I do remember how concerned you were about the kids on the other end of that, being able to continue their education and not losing any of that opportunity to gain. There was some loss, but hopefully that's gained and they've grown. Yes, we've learned a lot from that, and hopefully we can learn and move forward. I appreciate, again, the time you and I have spent together, the time you spent with the district, with the staff, with the community, with the West Valley, and I'll even go so far to say as the state of Arizona. You have done a marvelous job in influencing and bringing your aura, karma, whatever you want to call it, throughout that. Now on the other side of it, both my parents were educators. My dad was in the education field with deaf kids. He worked with the deaf kids for 30 years of his life. My mother worked with the K through 3s, and they both put in 30, 40 years, much like you've done. And I don't think I really appreciated what they did until many years later after the fact. And I was at church one day a number of years ago, and a young mother came up to me at that particular time and said, "Hey, Brother Nielsen, you don't happen to have come from a place called Kaysville, Utah?" And I said, "Yeah, I went to school there, and my parents lived there." And she said, "Your mother wasn't Gloria Nielsen, was it?" And I said, "Yes, that was my dear mother." And she said, "You know, that woman influenced my life more than anybody other than my mother." Dr. Freeman, you will not find out who you've influenced until 5 or 10 years down the line when they start saying, "Oh, that Dr. Freeman influenced and touched my life." I just want to express to you my friendship to you, mutual admiration we have for one another, and wish you the best in whatever you choose to do, because you will spend the next 15 to 30 years not sitting out fishing, but you're going to have to find something like I've done after retirement to go out and keep yourself busy. The knowledge that you have provided for the staff, the students, and those you've come in contact with is a knowledge to allow them to act rather than be acted upon. Thank you, Dr. Freeman.
And I'll just say, knowing Curtis's math skills, he's probably pretty close. Next, we're moving on to the consent agenda. Is there any questions, polls on the consent agenda? If not, I'll have a motion.
I motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
I second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, motion will pass. Moving on down to the superintendent search discussion. And let me get my agenda here ready. So at this time, we're going to bring up, we'll discuss the logistics of the permanent superintendent search with Ray and Associates representatives. And with us tonight, we have Steve Chestnut. Mr. Chestnut will tell us his vision and what he's thinking and kind of lay out what would happen. So, sir, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, President Reyes, members of the board, Dr. Freeman, administrators. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Steve Chestnut, and I work with Ray & Associates, and we're a national firm. We specialize in school superintendent searches, so we're very pleased to be here. I'll be by myself tonight, but I have a team that I will be introducing you to in a moment. So we want to get the introduction to this search, and we want to really get it launched tonight. And there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of details, as you can imagine. We won't get them all tonight. We won't get all those details figured out, but we can get enough to get this search started, and it's exciting to be looking for a continuing superintendent. I know you're planning to have an interim superintendent. That's typically a position for one academic year or the remainder of the academic year in this case. But we're looking forward to having a new superintendent in place, Littleton Elementary School District, hopefully by July 1, 2025. So. It's an exciting process, and we're very passionate about assisting school boards in completing that search. So this is our team, and Dr. Barbara Goodwin is also an Arizona educator. She is currently the executive director of the Arizona School Personnel Administrators Association. She's not able to be here tonight. She's a former district administrator, highly experienced in searches, and a big part of the team. So Dr. Goodwin and myself, we are the people that will be in person. There are two other members of our team, Mr. Jose Martinez, a retired superintendent. He's based on the East Coast, but he's going to be very helpful in candidate recruitment, vetting. He can appear virtually if that's needed. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. But he's a member of our team, as is Dr. David Faltes. He's our managing director. He works with searches all over the West Coast, and he won't be in person either, but he's a big support to our team. If he had to be in person, he would be, but that's our team. We also have two full-time assistants at the the central office in Iowa to help with all that administrative work. And so we have a good team in place. Just tell you a little bit about myself. This is my 4th year with Ray & Associates. I've done several Arizona superintendent searches, as well as Washington searches, Washington State and Alaska. I retired 4 years ago from full-time work in the Scottsdale Unified School District, where I served as an executive director and associate superintendent. Prior to that, I was superintendent for 6 years in the Maricopa Unified School District, the southernmost suburb of Phoenix, you know. I was also superintendent in Washington State for 21 years, been a principal and a teacher. So I have greatly enjoyed my career in education. This is my way of giving back to the profession that I love so much. Okay, next slide. This is our agenda. I'm not going to read that to you, and we won't talk about these right now, but these are the items we want to get through tonight, and hopefully by the time we get done, we'll answer all the questions that you have and give you a way to get more questions answered, because more questions will come up. Okay, next slide. Contact people, of course, are very important, and so your in-house contact person has already been identified as Robianne, and appreciate Robianne's assistance just getting tonight's meeting going, and it's always good to have an in-house person, so we'll be communicating through her, unless you, of course, decided to change that. But Robianne's been very helpful so far, and we appreciate her assistance. We also need a board contact, and let me tell you about that. It's generally the board president, but it certainly doesn't have to be. The reason we ask for a board contact is because we would like to have a weekly meeting by phone or Zoom, 5 to 15 minutes, and just to touch base because things happen in a search. And it's very good to keep the board informed of all the details of the search and questions that come up. And it's kind of a proactive way to stay in good communication and make things move forward. So, can you tell me who the board contact will be?
For now, it'll be myself, but I would also like, if Amy's available, since she's next in line in terms of the dais here, to be available as well. I will also be retiring, and December will be my last meeting, so certainly that gives her the advantage and opportunity to keep sharing and moving forward.
And that's a great way to do it, and so I could envision both of you being on a phone call or
Yes.
Zoom call.
And if one is not available and the other is, please continue with it, and we will share information so the process keeps moving.
Exactly, thank you, I appreciate that. Okay, see, we got one thing's resolved, and there's only like 400 more things to do, so. Next slide, candidate travel reimbursement. Let's just jump right in with some of the nitty-gritty. Something to think about, and several things that you're going to want to consider in regard to this topic. So we recommend 2 rounds of interviews. A first round of interview, probably 5, 6, 7 candidates, and then we recommend that a finalist round of interviews occur, 3, 4, whatever the board decides is the right number. So one thing you're going to want to think about, we don't need to decide right this minute because we will come back to this, but do you want that first round of interview to be in person or do you want it to be virtual? We recommend virtual just because it's so convenient and it's become a way of life now, as you know. And also, if you have candidates from out of state, it's quite easy to get that first round of interviews done in one day virtually. However, it's totally up to you if you wanted to have that first round in person. That is possible. If that is the decision, you have to think about travel expenses because it's customary to pay those travel expenses, and that can be up to $2,000 roughly for candidates from out of state, depending on where they're coming from. Obviously, in-state candidates are much less expensive. So that's something we're going to think about, and we'll come back to that. Number 2, will the travel be reimbursed for second round interviews? You're certainly not obligated to. Some districts do, some districts don't. But that's something to think about. If you have 2, 3 out-of-state candidates, that could be $6,000 in travel expenses, roughly. Maybe more, maybe less. Another thing to think about are spouses formally invited to the district for that second round of interview. Now, obviously, a candidate could bring his or her spouse, significant other person, and, that would be up to them. But if you want to formally invite the spouse, sometimes districts have some activities where the spouse is included. Doesn't have to be that way. That's something that you want to be thinking about. Obviously, there would be no travel reimbursement for spouses if they are invited. That's something to think about. You can see, as you know, the travel items that would be included are listed there, the kinds of things you would expect. The one question I do have is, are there district per diem rates that you would want candidates to use in documenting travel?
Would have to find that out.
Okay.
Steve, how soon do you need to know something like that? I mean, can they get through the first round, and if there's nobody out of state, it's a moot point? Or do you have to know that up front to be able to recruit?
We do not need to know up front. As we get further down the road, we may need some more information on that. It sounds like you don't have a hard and fast policy on that. It might just be a matter of submitting receipts. But we will keep that in mind as we go forward.
Just doing up to amount.
Yeah.
And also, in Arizona state law, travel could be considered, or reimbursing travel could be considered a gift of public funds. So what would happen is that the candidates, if you choose to pay for travel expenses, would submit those expenses to Ray & Associates, submit receipts, or could be the per diem rate, whatever you all decided. And then those would be part of the billing that Ray & Associates would send to the district. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we need to look at our policy and make sure we stay within whatever the realm states we should stay, and then we'll get back to you.
Exactly, yes. No problem there.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of questions we're going to raise tonight. Don't expect an answer to every one of them. Okay, moving on. We want to talk about the timeline. And we worked through 5 different stages. This is stage 1 tonight, and then we'll start into stage 2 tomorrow. And by the end of stage 5, we hope to announce a finalist. It takes about 4 months, and the great news, the best news of all, is that your district is really early in the superintendent search business for the year, right? I mean, not too early either. I mean, superintendents that are candidates that are thinking about looking for a job, they start thinking about it in the fall, planning for next year. And so you are kind of at the front of the queue for superintendent searches. I think you're really in good shape time-wise. It really couldn't be any better. So I want to talk about this timeline because it's really important. And you will end up, by the time we get done with this timeline discussion, you'll end up in the next few days getting a 1-page timeline that really just breaks it all down into one single page, which makes it really easy to keep track of. But people are always wanting to know what comes next, when is such and such going to happen, and that kind of thing. And you will get this. You'll have a copy of this. We'll keep working on it. It is a living document. We can make tweaks as we go along, but it's very helpful to get it all down to 1 page, and that'll be our ultimate goal. Okay, next slide, please. So this is our suggested timeline. Remember, this is your search. We have recommendations. We have a model that's worked for us, but we can tweak this to meet your needs, and that's really one of the main purposes we want to cover tonight. But in stage 1, on October 1st, that's us right now. That first meeting in yellow, that's happening right now. But then we want to begin on tomorrow, as early as tomorrow, begin preparing information for the district promotional flyer or video. We like to have some promotional material from your district that we can share with candidates. And the traditional way is to do it in a PDF, a trifold brochure, hard copy, but everything's electronic these days, and people really aren't going to meetings and collecting these hard copies. And if they do get a PDF, they're just really downloading it online, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can do it that way. Another option would be to do a video or a slideshow that would be available electronically. And I'll show you some examples here in a moment, but that's something you're going to want to be thinking about. The online application form, I'll be going over that in a few moments, and you'll be able to see what that looks like. So these are the baseline materials that candidates are going to want to look at. And so that promotional flyer video is important. We'll come back and talk about that. Starting tomorrow, our firm will notify all of our associates across the nation because, people are connected all over the place. They have friends and colleagues all over the nation, all over the state, and we will let our colleagues know in Rain Associates, we have 40 associates nationwide, that, hey, there's a really good job in Arizona, and this is something you might want to consider. Our Barb Goodwin and myself will be reaching out to Arizona candidates, and we'll do that personally and throughout the search process to make sure we get the best candidates. Also, we want your district contact person, whoever she works with, to think about contacting constituents and stakeholders for input meetings, which are tentatively scheduled for October 28th and 29th. And I'll come back and talk about that. But stakeholder input is a huge part of our process. We want to hear from the community, from parents, from teachers, from classified staff, from administrators, from central office. You can include as many groups as you want. We've had up to 15 stakeholder groups where we talk to them personally, gather input from them on what they are interested in the next superintendent. And that's a really important part of our process. So we'll be working with your district contact people to start making those lists, deciding how many groups you want to include and whose names should be on there. And then we communicate with them electronically, and then we get that forum, that meeting going. But that's a really fun part of the process as well. Also, I'll remind Robbie-Ann about this after the meeting, but another part of our process that really starts this week is that Barb Goodwin and I will be on the phone talking to each board member individually. We have a standard set of questions, and we want to hear where each board member is coming from in regard to the superintendent's search. It's very helpful to us to get to know you a little bit and what your hopes and dreams are for your next superintendent. So that's going to be coming up, and so I'll get that contact information from Robbie-Ann. It takes 20, 30 minutes on the phone. We could do it via Zoom, but it's pretty simple, straightforward, but very important part of our process. Are we okay on stage 1? Any questions?
going to be doing stakeholders and constituents, that if it's coming up October 28th and 29th, and I understand why because of timing, we just need to make sure we get that out and get, that out to where it needs to go so people have time to put it on their schedule.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
Especially because we have fall break in the middle of
Yeah, exactly.
right.
What about him interviewing the incoming board members? Because they're the ones who are going to be here for the vote.
So there is going to be new board members. Do you normally do you normally reach out? I mean, what have you done in the past for that?
To be totally honest, I've never been this early in a search before, so, it's never
And
happened.
we thought we were starting late, so it's good to hear that we were ahead of the curve, so I'm glad about
The
that.
election's next month, and
Sure. I think it's a great idea. If we could get those names and phone numbers, we will contact them,
they'll be
emails.
seated when you guys decide.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, if it's only 20 or 30 minutes, maybe, that it won't take long.
Oh,
We'll
no,
get
we're
to-
happy to do
So
it.
Robbie Ann will give you all that.
I think it's a great idea.
And
Yeah.
you could always decline.
Yeah.
Sure, exactly. All right, and they're confidential. I mean, this information isn't shared publicly. It's just really for the consultant team to understand the board better. Any other questions on stage one? Okay, stage two starts tomorrow. We'll talk about advertising here in a few minutes, and we will, home office will start placing those ads as early as tomorrow. And we'll stagger them so that we get maximum exposure during the time that this is being advertised. And so we'll come back and talk about that. Much of the advertising is for free. Some of it does cost. It's up to you how much you want to spend on that. And I've got a price list that I'll show you in a moment. On October 14th, is when we would like to have our online survey go live. This is also a very important part of gathering community, staff input into the superintendent search process. And we use something called a 31 qualities survey, and I'll talk more about that in a moment, but it really is used to develop the ideal candidate profile, and that will eventually identify the top 10 or 12 research-based behaviors that you're looking for in a new superintendent. And so that is something that's important, and we will continue to rely on your staff to get that information publicized on the website, email blast, however you'd like to promote it, just like you will be recruiting people for the stakeholder meetings. So that information is very important, and that survey we're recommending to be open for 2 weeks, approximately from the 14th to the 31st. And it'll be open to community members, students, parents, staff, everyone. And the board, I'll talk more about this, but the board will get a full report tabulated, cross-tabbed by different groups who participate in the survey, so you can see what different groups are thinking about what they're looking for in the new superintendent. It's a very helpful tool. Okay, as I mentioned, then on the 29th, we'll have the constituent and stakeholder group representative meetings, and here's a decision point. We can have those in person. They can be virtual, or they could be both. We have had good success, obviously during COVID, we had a lot of virtual meetings, but we got great participation by parents in particular in the evenings if we had an online forum gathering input. It worked well. There's certainly no obligation to do it that way. It is totally up to this group how you want to do it. If you do them in person, I would facilitate those. Barb would facilitate those as well, and we're happy to do that. And as I mentioned, you can have as many groups as you want. They're generally about an hour apiece, and you can have 5, you can have 15. We like to do it over that 2-day period, start in the morning, finish late at night, however you want to organize that schedule. But we would rely on Robbie Ann and your staff to develop the schedule and get that thing going. No, so it would be a forum, let's say you wanted elementary teachers. So that could be in this room, and we would facilitate a discussion with as many elementary teachers as showed up. Yes. Yes, I would facilitate that, or Barb, we would be the two people facilitating those, either in person or online. Could be a small group. Maybe you want a group from city leaders. We've had a group of 5 or 10 meet at City Hall and have a discussion with them. However you want to organize that, but typically you're going to want 1 or 2 teacher groups, maybe 3. You're going to want administrative groups, central office, classified staff, however you'd like to organize that. The board is not one of the groups because we do those individual board interviews. We get that input. Board members, you know, 2 of them can attend those forums, those public forums. We don't want a quorum there, of course, but they'd be welcome to attend. That's up to them.
I'm sorry. We've gotten a lot of professional development lately on open meeting law. So if you're meeting at the behest of the board in Arizona, does that make it an open meeting? We post it as a meeting because it's a board committee, and there's no discussion or decision by board members, so it's just to make the public aware?
Correct. And to invite the people that are invited, yes. And our researchers have not listed that as a public open meeting, no.
Sorry, we have a new attorney general who's kind of been bird dogging that.
Yes, and we're open to guidance. So yes, we're happy to keep dialoguing to make sure we do it right.
Sorry, comment? Yes. Can I ask? Okay, thank you. I love the idea of doing the forums and that you're taking the full day. Now that I'm just like thinking about it, is like I think morning and afternoon will obviously be a time to talk to like staff because they're obviously at work, so you're able to have those conversations with them. And then I know we have a hold for a special board meeting on the 29th in the evening.
Because we didn't know.
Yeah, whatever. We don't need to do that? Okay, then great. There's no need for that. But like having it in the evening, have a community forum. But I think maybe taking both days, do one day fully virtual, and then do one day in person. Have you guys done something like that before?
We have, yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
While I understand it is a work day, I want as many staff to participate as well. And I know as a staff member, I would not want to leave my duty as a teacher or as an aide to go to this forum. So I would like to make sure that we have the ability of our staff in the evenings so that it's not like, hey, I'm going to go do this and then someone else is covering my class or covering my duty or whatever that is.
Yeah, for staff, we typically do those right after school hours at the end of the workday, but whatever you all decide. And then typically some staff members are going to be busy that day, so they can come to the community forum. There's other ways. And the online survey is open to everybody still, yes. Mm-hmm.
How hard is that date? I mean, we have an early release day on the 30th, the next day, where staff could be more available.
Those dates are totally flexible. We can change them.
Okay.
If we need a third day, you want to just have a couple different days? Yeah, whatever works for you. Very flexible.
I like the idea of the 30th for staff, especially because if we can use their professional development or their early release time, then I'm not asking them to give up more hours in the evening when they may already have other obligations. So
I like the idea you mentioned, Amy. Like, actually, like that gives them all the opportunity to be present in the moment. Everybody gets an input. They don't have to like move around their schedules to give them. And then what have you done with students? How is that? How's that worked out?
Sorry, I didn't mention students. We almost always do students. Yes, we can do intermediate, middle school grades, or however you want to organize that. Always have a great conversation. Sure. Definitely want student input, yep. Okay, that would lead us then to the meeting on November 12th, assuming that date works for you. Myself and Barb would come and just finalize that superintendent profile. So we would take all the information from the survey. You would get a full report so you could understand what the community is thinking as far as the survey results, what your staff is thinking, administrators, et cetera. And you would have all the input from the stakeholder groups. At that time then, you will identify from that 31 quality survey the 10 or 12 attributes that you're looking for in your new superintendent, really the ideal candidate profile. And that's always a great discussion and fun to do. So we would then use that information as we recruit. Candidates would look at that information and say, am I a good fit for this district or not? It's a very useful tool. We'll screen using that tool, and we'll bring it back to you throughout the process as you interview, so you can reflect on, here's what we were looking for, and how does this candidate, how does he or she match up? So, meeting on the 12th, I assume we want to do that in person. I'd be glad to appear virtually if you'd like me to, but we can think about that. In person's always better,
I think we already have a meeting scheduled that day, so why not?
Perfect.
That's why Robbie Ann's worked with him on it.
Okay. Perfect. Any other questions on stage 2? Okay. That takes us to stage 3. As I mentioned, your staff will be working on a promotional flyer or video. Now, there's some options there. Kathy at our home office is happy to put those together for you if you provide her the information, and I'll show you what kind of information she needs. A lot of districts have communication people that are really great, and they love to do it themselves, and I know you have an awesome website, so I'm guessing you have somebody that's really good at that. But we can talk about that. Okay. Is it you? Over here. Ah, that guy. Okay. Good. And you can negotiate that with Kathy. It's fine with me. Yeah. We're happy to help. We just know that's an important document, and candidates really look at that. And you have an awesome website, so I know that you have great materials, and that's going to be helpful. Anyway, we want to be able to post that on the Ray & Associates website along with the application. You'll want to post it on your website. I assume you'll have a dedicated page to superintendent search, and there's always a lot of interest in that. It's a great public relations tool and a candidate recruitment tool. Okay, so next item up. Talking to Robbie Ann, we talked about deadlines for application materials. And I know that December 22nd, I believe, is the last day of school before winter break for you. We had posted it back in stage 2. I think we listed it on there, didn't we? On the 14th of October, yes. No, that's not right. Well, whatever. The 22nd of December would be the deadline according to this slide. I would recommend strongly that you consider extending that deadline until January 5th. That's Sunday, January 5th. I believe you come back to school. I think you have a staff day on the 6th. And candidates appreciate that time. Most of them are working hard until January 22nd. They need time to talk to their families about this because oftentimes it's a family decision. They have some downtime typically over winter break, and I know when I was a candidate, I appreciated that kind of timeline to have that ability to have some extra time to get that done. It's up to you. We can close it on the 22nd of December if you'd like. I'd recommend January 5th. We can keep those dates. Yep.
I'm okay with moving it until January. I know that I don't feel as a board we'll be looking or making any decisions between those times, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go January 5th. Thank you. That's good. And also, just to make it clear, you can see in fine print there that all applications will be reviewed. Material received after the closing date may be given full consideration. I mean, we try to be, have good judgment in this. Sometimes a candidate gets it in, the morning of the 6th, and, we typically aren't going to send the stuff out until the afternoon of the 6th. So, yeah, we can work with a candidate like that. But I think even more importantly is for you to know that you'll have access to every application. I'll talk about this in a moment. We're going to bring you our top 10 or 12, because that's what you're hiring us to do is, help you vet these candidates and bring you the people that we feel meets your ideal candidate profile. However, you have access to all the information, and if you have a difference of opinion, that's fine. It's your board's search. Are we okay on stage 3? We do, yes. We do a full internet vet of all candidates that we bring to you up front, and then for finalists, there's a third party that does a full legal, criminal, background, college degree verification. It's comprehensive in a big, thick report. So yes, and that's part of our standard fee. Anything else on stage 3? Okay, stage 4. So the next step on the 21st, that is when we will finalize interview questions with you. We'll do some preliminary work on that, but that's an important part of the process. And then we will bring you the top candidates that we recommend as consultants for your review, as I mentioned, based on the ideal candidate profile. And then we will assist you as you select who you want to interview in the first round. And so that needs to be an in-person meeting. We don't have to decide that time tonight or anything, but that's a very important meeting when you decide who you want to interview in that first round and how many people you want in that first round. And then we're projecting that, and that's typically a long meeting. I mean, I try to move through agendas and not try to have super long meetings, but that can be easily a 3-hour meeting because there's a lot of information to look at. For example, we have each candidate do what we call a Spark Hire video. That's the name of the firm. It's about a 10-minute video where they answer 3 or 4 questions. You've probably seen this kind of thing related to the position. And you'll get a chance to have that video to look at for every candidate. Prior to this meeting, you'll have all of their application materials. And that's why there's a lot of information to go through that night. But it's a fun process, and but it can be a long meeting. So then we're recommending that the week of the 27th is when you would interview those first round candidates. And once again, you have to decide if it's in person or virtual. And if you want to do it on one day or two, you want to do it in the evening, there's just a lot of different ways you could do that, but that week is the time to do it.
Special meeting scheduled on the 28th already for district business, kind of leading into the spring. So I don't know if they would want to double up, but do I?
Yeah, usually a virtual interview
If you're doing virtual, it's probably not that much of a hardship, but otherwise members would be driving over here like several nights. Yeah.
Virtual and possibly even in person are typically, 45 to 50 minutes long, 55 minutes long. And so if you interview 6 or 7 people, that can be 6 or 7 hours, even virtually. So that's something to think about. It can be, depending on how many you decide, even if you do just 4, that's 4 hours right there.
My feeling right now is first interviews can be done virtually, and then our finalists can be in person. But I feel like finances, our own capacity as a board, it's easier to do the in-person, the first round virtual.
And we've had great success with that, and literally every search I've worked on for the last 4 years, that's the way we've done it. Yeah. Okay, and then even if it's virtual, it would be in a room somewhere. I don't know if it would be this room, wherever it would be, but Barb and I would be there, and then we would help you debrief that. You would have to make the final decisions, but we have a consensus building tool that we use, and then we turn the discussion over to you. But we're happy to participate in that, and that's always a very interesting meeting. Okay, anything else on stage 4? Okay, that takes us to stage 5. So in other words, that meeting on the at the end of virtual interviews on the 27th, you will decide who our finalists going to be and how many. And so we need to give them a schedule, and we want to keep it moving along. So the week of February 3rd is when we would bring in the finalist candidates. That'd be in person. Sounds like that's what we're gonna do. And then you need to make a decision, not tonight, but you need to be thinking about: do you want stakeholder involvement in that interview process? That's pretty typical that there is, but it's certainly not required. And so that's the kind of thing where Barb and I would help facilitate that. I could envision a candidates forum in this room where you have one at a time or all three up front, whatever, we can work out the details on that later, but it's a great opportunity for the community to come in and give their impression. And we give them what we literally call an impression form because we want to know their impressions. We make it clear that the board has to make the final decision on who the new superintendent is going to be. People aren't voting, but they are giving you their input. Then we take that information, typically it's done electronically, we can compile it fast as a Survey Monkey, and you have access to all that feedback from the forum as you sit down for a final deliberation and decide who you want to hire as your new superintendent.
I will say that that is kind of, I'm almost like, I have to have community input. As a teacher, I was a part of many interviews for superintendents, and I feel like my opinion was heard, and I feel like we need that for not only our teachers, all of our staff, but also parent and community involvement.
Very, very common format to do it that way. We've had great success with that. Okay, we can talk more about the details as we get a little further down the road, but that's good to know that that's what you're interested in. And once again, Barb and myself would be at that meeting, take you through a little consensus building activity, and then turn it over to you, because we're just assisting, but we will be there and assisting you with that. And then, of course, you'll have to negotiate a contract. We encourage you to start thinking with your, most districts do it with their district attorney, to talk about what that contract should look like. That's something that you might want to start drafting up now. I have had districts that draft that up early, and we're able to share that with candidates. That may not be your style. You can do it however you want, but it is something that you need to be thinking about because then there will be contract terms that will need to be discussed with those finalists, and that's something to be thinking about to have on your radar. Then you'll want to set a date to get that done. You'll want to set a date to offer the contract, a date for a press release about the new superintendent once that contract is finalized and signed. And we'll assist with all that. And then the last step is the board self-assessment survey results. That's something that comes from the home office, and it's a good way to kind of wrap up the search. Any questions on stage 5? Okay. So I've talked about this profile, but I'll let you read this if you wouldn't mind, rather than read it to you. So hopefully I explained all that well, and that was just a repeat for you. But that profile, as I keep saying, is important, and we work hard on it, and it's very helpful in the search. Okay. Just to give you some some concrete examples here, let's take a look at what that board survey looks like. So we're talking about the 31 quality survey. So we'll do the individual board member interviews. That's in person, right? That's just something that will happen this next week. But board members will also do a survey. Each group that takes this survey, they have to identify their group. So there is an identified board member group. If we can click on that, it should come up. It's not coming up. Okay, that's not good. It came up at home. It just won't come up here.
It comes up on our
On yours?
Yeah.
Good. So you can see what that looks like. And then you just rank those qualities, the ones that are important to you. So it's interesting to look at that. As one look, what do the board members think? You get another report, as I mentioned. There it is. What do teachers think? What do parents think, et cetera? And we will give you a concise report with numbers that summarize all that information. And then the next one is the community example. It's really the same. I'm not sure we need to click on that. But the important question for the survey is, do you need other languages? And if so, which ones?
I think for our community survey, I would love to see definitely Spanish as an option.
Yeah.
Yes? Do we need another language besides Spanish?
What is that?
I was just gonna say, can we get with some of our district officials and like them tell us what other languages they know are spoken among our community? I feel
Yes.
like they have a better idea than us on the
Yeah,
board.
that's fine.
Definitely Swahili, though. We have a really good population of students and parents who are very active within the community. So that, I would think that one goes without saying as well.
Okay.
I think we have 35 or 40 languages, but there's small numbers of each. If there's a bigger number, then we have the translator on our website and stuff, so you can pick your language. I don't know if we can get feedback on if people are,
What languages they're picking.
yeah. I don't know if that's part of our service or not. We'll look.
We'll work with Robbie-Ann on that and get that figured out, but, yeah.
The other thing I'm just going to remind, when it comes time, the board will have to decide, the interim superintendent's going to be here. You will have to decide where that fits in and how that fits in, or if you want it to fit in, that's entirely up to you. But, I mean, there's a lot of different dynamics moving while that's all happening, so I'm just going to put that thought and plan it and leave it at that.
Sure, sure. Okay, next slide. So I've got two sample schedules here. This is, this one is actually my favorite because those stakeholder group examples are listed on the hour and they go throughout the day. The first one starts at, I think, 7 in the morning, and the last one is in the bottom right-hand corner, starts at 6 at night. And I just remembered that my colleague Barb Goodman is not available on the 28th and 29th. Now, if we change the dates, she may be available. I just remembered that. Well, you know, it's just a normal workday if you're an administrator, you know, start at 7, get done at 7 at night. So that's fine. But we'll have to come up with a schedule. If you have two at the same time, that is not a problem. We will have another consultant here, whether it's David or somebody, to get this done because it's important and we want to hear from those stakeholder groups. So as I mentioned before, I'll be working with Robbie-Ann and we'll be putting together a schedule and what that should look like. Size, you know, it's all about the facility. We could have a large group in here and we're happy to facilitate a large group. And I've facilitated 40, 45 people online in a similar format. So however you all decide to do it. Okay, so we'll come up with a schedule that looks something like that in the near future because, as it was mentioned, we want to get rolling on this. We want to identify the exact dates and then get rolling, get those invitations out, get it on people's calendars. Okay, next slide. Please read that summary. I don't want to read it to you. And hopefully that just summarized what I've said, but we really like that stakeholder input and it's very helpful. Okay, next slide. Here's some examples of some flyers, brochure, whatever you want to call it. In fact, 2 of them are from Arizona that we've done in recent years. If you want to click on that, hopefully it'll come up or not. Not coming up. Well, you can imagine what a brochure would look like. We have examples, and we're happy to share those with your staff if you want to look at, you know, what's been done in the past and that kind of thing. I have an example of a slideshow if it works on the next page. So I'll just go to the next page. Sorry about those links. Okay. There we go. There's this one is a slideshow, and it's not truly a video, but obviously that's an option. I know on this one those links are live, so that's a good way to embed some content into a slideshow. But you all can work on that. And, I'm sorry, sir, what is your name?
Dan Budsman.
Dan, what's your last name?
Budsman, B-U-D-Z-B-A-N.
Okay, Dan, well, we'll be in touch and we'll get this figured out. Okay, great, thank you. So there's the list of promotional materials, items needed. In fact, I've got a printout here, I'll just give this to you all. I've got it sitting there, but this kind of stuff I want to put in the box. And I think we already clicked on that Rochester video or slideshow down at the bottom. Okay, so we got that under control. Online application. We know that there's a new Arizona criminal conviction affidavit. Robbie Ann pointed that out to us. We have a copy of that. We will add that as part of the application. Candidates will have to complete that as part of their application. That'll be posted on our website so that is taken care of. And then if you click on that link, maybe the application will come up. Ah, there it is. It's pretty standard. One of the questions we ask is, do you fluently speak a language other than English? It's always interesting to know. Of course, we ask about the usual stuff, educational attainment and experience. And then, of course, references. We call them all. And then we call people that are not on the reference list with their permission so that we can get a full view of what candidates are like. And we do a full vet, as I mentioned, on each candidate and thorough internet search to make sure there's no surprises, because that's really our main goal, is we don't want any surprises at all. We have our own disclosure form on that last page, and so we'll get all those questions answered. And it's pretty standard, straightforward application. Any questions on that? Okay, it's good. Okay, next page, next slide. Advertising. The regional stuff is all free. Last I checked anyway, it was free. I'm not sure if they're starting to charge for any of this, but Arizona School Board Association, school administrators, and Arizona Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents. That's a members of all, so I assume it's free. It's a great way to get the word out for in-state candidates, and people are looking at that stuff. I guarantee you, well, almost on a daily basis if they're in the job market. So that stuff's easy to do, the regional stuff. We would rely on your district staff to post that stuff, since you're the members and you have all the passwords and know all the people and all that kind of stuff. Next page is the national advertising. Just to remind you, there's no markup costs on this. We just send you the invoice for what these are, the ones that you choose to do. The recommended national items, we post them. You don't do that, you don't have to do that, but we recommend that the AASA, American Association of School Administrators, that's the National Superintendent Association, and that's probably the #1 place where candidates nationwide are looking. We recommend that you spend the extra money for that $599 job flash package. They have 5,000 superintendents in their database that would get an email with this application material, your brochure and that kind of thing. And we think that should run for 30 days, and you can have the two options there. Obviously, it's up to you. You don't have to do any of this. My recommendation is you get some national advertising out. There's going to be candidates interested in this position. This is an outstanding district. Dr. Freeman's had a great tenure here. It's very solid district, very stable. You have Carver governance model. You have all your schools are magnet academies. You know, this is an exciting place to be an educator, and Arizona is a wonderful place to live. Many candidates want to live in Arizona. We all know that Arizona doesn't have the top salaries in the nation for teachers or superintendents, but it's also a wonderful place to live and work, and that's well known. That's why I came from the state of Washington, and that's why advertising is so important.
I want to add that could we consider doing the Association of Latino Administrators and Superintendents, because we serve majority Latino community?
Absolutely. All right, that's a $250 listing. Is that a yes on that one?
I'm okay with it.
I think that I'm okay with it. I also would include the National Alliance of Black School Educators as well.
I mean, I personally think we should do all of them, but that depends on how much
Is the double ASA fee 409 plus 599, or is the 599 an upgrade?
$5.99 is the upgrade
Okay.
for 30 days. So let's start at the top. Are you interested in advertising with AASA? And do you want the job flash or not? That's a personalized email to all 5,000 superintendents. Otherwise, the opening is just posted on their website.
It's called push-pull. So if you put up an ad, you're trying to pull people to the site to look. If you flash, you push it out to a list.
I mean,
More people will see.
I think because the position's so critical, it's minimal dollars spent for whatever you can get for. So, yeah, I mean, you don't want to be penny and pound foolish in that respect.
Okay, so job flash package. Next one, Education Week, newspaper and website. What's your opinion on that?
Says it's included.
Oh, yeah, that's right, it's included. So there we go.
Yeah, we'll take that.
That one's included, my mistake. Also, just to remind you, this position, we want to get this open soon. So, as I think I mentioned, that the home office staggers these so that they don't all go out tomorrow. And so that we get as much exposure as possible. Okay, next one. Did I hear a yes on National Alliance of Black School Educators?
Yes.
Okay. And I heard a yes on Association of Latino Administrators.
Yes.
And then the next two are free. National Association of School Superintendents and Rain Associates, of course. Rain Associates, we get 25,000 hits on our website a month.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of activity for candidates that are interested in, looking for a job. Okay. Next page are additional options. Is there any interest in any of those?
I don't think we need to do those. Yeah, I think.
You're the expert. Do you see hits on any of these worth discussing?
Most districts do not use anything on this page.
Okay. Yeah, I could see why.
The people on this one probably are already on the primary ones anyway, so that'd be overkill. Save a couple dollars.
It's the same people.
Yeah. It sounds like there's not an interest.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, next slide. We need to come up with a salary, advertised salary is very important. Salary is important. And so, as it says, Robbie Ann's waiting for, we do have Arizona salary information. You have it, in fact.
But
We
it's
just got it
dated
today.
2022, so it's really old.
Isn't that the latest that's available?
I don't know. Oh,
By
okay.
the time they compile it and publish it, it's always at least a year or two behind. And 24 is not over yet. So.
Well, and you don't know the package, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's base. You don't know all the contract pieces. Normally they get free healthcare and they get the 401, whatever it is. And so you don't know what the total value is.
That's correct.
Can I ask on this, there are like orangish red boxes. Does that mean there's just no data for that?
That's my understanding, yes.
Is there another way to get salary data? Okay. So maybe it would be good if you could do a column of salary and then all the extras that go with it, and then give the total, and that way you could look and make decisions what's important. You want somewhat of equivalence, right, of schools?
It's usually broken down that way.
Yeah, you do it by 1,000. Yeah, perfect.
So this is what you're going to need to be thinking about. We eventually want a paragraph, like the second paragraph in the posting, saying the salary be in the range. We recommend that you put a range from some number to the next number, and then the rest of the verbiage is important as well, which is kind of like President Reyes you're referring to. Okay, so that's something we're going to need to work on.
So, but it sounds like if I go back to stage 2 or 3 or whatever, when you wanted to push out, that's in about a month. So kind of narrowing this down should be done within a month, so it's ready to push?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Sooner the better. In fact, we're going to post this opening tomorrow on Rain Associates website. There won't be an application form because it's not ready and all that kind of stuff, but people will start thinking about this.
Sure.
Teaser.
And
it'll
the sooner
start-
we get that description on there, the better, even if it's before the application.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on salary comparison?
Do you want to have the board vote to have you do that? Or how do you want to arrive at a number between now and next month?
You mean salary?
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Freeman's just asking, how do we want to try to quantify some salary? And I think the board really can't quantify it until you know what you're looking at. So I think once,
Well, you and Amy are the contacts.
Yeah, but-
Can they trust the two of you to?
oh, is that what you're asking?
Well, either that or
Yeah.
you need to meet.
I mean, no, once we know the salaries, we can meet and then share that if
Yeah, I
there's.
think as long as Kathy's able to give us
Yeah,
the information.
yeah.
Back, why?
Yeah,
we-
pretty much typically like we disperse anything else, right?
Either that
Once
or we
you,
need to schedule a meeting.
no, I think we'll be able to do it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we'll keep working on that. Sounds like we're going to gather some more information. We'll share it and come to a decision. Okay, next slide. So some specific questions. I think some of these we've covered, some not. The first one, are there any specific state requirements? We know we have a fingerprint clearance card requirement. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, the new affidavit mentioned that. That's certainly a new requirement that we have to include. Okay. Second thing, are there preferred qualities that the board would like? For example, are you interested in somebody that's bilingual? Do you want somebody with a doctorate? Yes or no? Is there something else I'm not thinking of?
I think in our board policy or description of superintendent, we do say that it's a preferred they have a doctorate. I do remember that part. So I would say making sure that we're following that job description that we currently have as a district. Definitely.
And Robbie, I could send you that so you can, pick.
Okay, that'd be good.
I do want to add that I think we should consider bilingual, just because of the community we serve.
Would you like to have it say bilingual preferred?
That's up to my colleagues.
I would like it to say bilingual preferred.
That's a pretty common
Yeah,
thing on an
that's fine.
application.
Yeah.
Anything else that's a preferred quality? Superintendent experience is another one that's common.
Principal experience, classroom teacher, K-12 experience in the classroom.
That's another one, yep. Do you want that to say required or preferred?
Prefer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're reducing your candidate pool to, right? You know that more than I would, so. Preferred is always good because it leaves you leeway to.
Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say I definitely want a teacher or at least someone who's been in a classroom.
Right, understand.
But I'm willing to use the verbiage of preferred, but know that that is kind of an expectation of mine at least. But I'm willing to look at other applicants who may not have it if they have an alternative, qualifications.
Superintendents that have not been teachers or worked in schools in a principalship or something?
You know, on rare occasions, yes. I mean, there's some people that are going for a second type career. Maybe they come out of the military. They have some great leadership experience. Yep. Sometimes business leaders do the same kind of thing.
Well, I mean, it's in there, you can always change it. I mean, you can look at the job description. I don't remember what it says. They say it's required. I don't remember.
Well, that's fine. I'll look at that policy, sure. But it sounds like at the very least we want teacher and principal preferred. Is that correct?
Yes.
What about superintendent? Experience preferred?
Yeah, preferred, yes. I mean, why not ask for the whole tree? And see what you guys
Yeah, we could say district office, central office, superintendent experience preferred.
District administration.
Yeah, that's a good way.
Yeah, because you can get some really good, quality from that.
Okay. So on the job application, you may have noticed, there are questions about your superintendent certificate. The good news is that almost every state, as far as I know, every state has a reciprocal relationship for superintendent credentials with other states. But sometimes people are in the midst of working on their certificate, and so the questions in the application say, are you qualified to get one? Have you verified it? And so we try to find out, are they aware of this? So this can be a situation where you have a person who's been maybe even a district office person and decides he or she wants to pursue the superintendent position. And they're working on a superintendent credential. They haven't got it done yet. They don't have it in their hand when we interview in, when is it, February? But they have a plan to get it done, by June. So the question is the board willing to offer a contract to a finalist that would need to obtain licensing? Doesn't have it in their hand.
For my opinion, as long as they are able to have a license before they start the position.
That's pretty common in any kind of special certification in the process, but they must have it. So as long as it's spelled out in the contract, the only challenge with it, if they do not get it, you're now way behind the eight ball unless you picked up secondary candidate, right?
Right.
I just think when you're doing that, you're thinking, okay, this is first, and then second runs right here, so you have a different game plan. Thank you.
Yeah, we can do language, certification preferred, required by July 1. I think
Yeah.
that's the expectation.
June 30th.
June 30th. Yes. Don't have that first day being a problem, Okay, and then it always comes back to money. Who is the contact that home office should send invoices to for payment?
That would be the pay,
Robbie Ann opened the PO.
Robbie, back to Robbie Ann.
Okay. Okay. That is the end of my presentation. We greatly appreciate your, beg your pardon?
And stage 1.
And stage 1 is over. We're ready for stage 2, like right now. I have a lot more questions that I'll be working with your staff on. We'll get these answers, but we're looking forward to this, and it's going to be very exciting. So thank you very much for your time tonight.
Well, thank you for coming and presenting and doing a great job and putting all this together in a really relatively short period of time, so we appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you very much.
So next, we're moving on to Dr. Freeman and the organizational chart.
If you could open up that chart, I don't know how legible that's going to be, a little bit bigger. All right, so Madam President, members of the board, you'll recall the last time we brought this to you, we had 3 chiefs, and people were spread pretty wide. One of the comments of the board was, how are you guys going to be able to do that? And really, we saw that as a transitional org chart. We lost some help in the middle of the year. We didn't really know the direction the board was going to be going with an internal or external candidate. Now that we know the direction the board's going with an external candidate for interim, we were able to have a pretty lively discussion in cabinet. We've invited Robbie M. Musil and Dad Budsman into the dialogue. And the other thing that's happened in the interim is where we tried that other org chart on, we learned some things that were working and not working as far as who was in what role. So there will be a little bit of role shift within these boxes, but our recommendation is for the cabinet to move forward effectively and to be able to support a person who's completely new to the school district, that the cabinet include 2 executive directors again. We've had that in the past. And so that would continue to be Dr. Hayde and Ms. Garrison, and then we would add HR, or talent and recruitment, and communications to the cabinet, along with Mr. French in finance. And the other part of the reason is when the board had their retreat in April, there was a lot of discussion about enhancing the communication department. So we have, besides upgrading Dan from director to executive director, we have taken the parent liaison and made them a supervisor, and then added a staff member underneath that. And I think, especially just considering the discussion we just had and all the information that needs to go out on the search and, you know, change every month and be timely, we're asking a lot of them in addition to all of the other promotion of district things that are happening. And then the other thing that happened was, you know, we lost a couple key people in payroll and benefits, and in their exit interview, they both said that for the two of them, there was way more work to keep up with than they thought was manageable. They were feeling pressured to stay long hours or to log in and work. And there are some districts that pay a little better, or one that are like on a 4-day week instead of a 5-day week that allows them to attract some people. So based on their feedback, instead of payroll and benefits together, we want to separate payroll into one coordinator and benefits into another. The benefits person would have some other responsibilities like FMLA and disability and some things like that that would be shared with HR. So essentially we're looking at upgrading 3 positions, 2 in communications, 1 in HR, and then adding a benefits person and moving them under HR to help over there. And we think that creates some breadth, manageable responsibility and roles, and will put the district in a good position going forward. I think I mentioned to the board before, some of our challenges were $1,000 per pupil below the Arizona average in per pupil funding, but we were also below the Arizona average in admin spending, and some of that probably was due to that org chart. Where we were a little light, and we paid the price a little bit that in losing some support people. So we want to correct that. A lot of time and discussion's gone into this. This is our recommendation. Be happy to try to answer questions if members have any about how we got here. But we are recommending that we get this change started and get people in place so when the interim arrives in a couple weeks, there'll be a good support team.
Questions? Yes.
In the description, we have that the current year fiscal impact is approximately $30,000 for the 3 elevated positions, and then approximately $90,000 for the 2 additional support. So I'm putting those 2 together. I'm assuming for the impact, right?
Yes. Okay. So the coordinator will probably be around 60, and the staff person in communications around 30.
Okay.
But depending on the years of experience and background they come in with, so that's not.
I understand it's an estimate. I just wanted to make sure that that was kind of like the price tag walking out the door, and or an estimate of it.
And upgrades aren't that expensive because we're already paying them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next. Questions?
I just am concerned with the timing of it all. Like, I just feel like it's a bit inappropriate with the new interim superintendent coming in. Are we almost speculating that she's going to need this additional support? Or, I mean, I can understand how that might be seen as being supportive. We're anticipating you're going to need this help, but can also be seen as being condescending and not giving her an opportunity to come in and kind of get a feel for how things are before we make any changes. And that's how I would receive it if I was an interim coming in. In anticipation of you coming, we went ahead and put these things in place. I may not have needed that.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo what Member Barnett said. I think I understand the changes at the bottom, but I think you just told us, I think in March, that we are okay with 3 cabinet members, and now we want to go to 5. I think it's kind of like, let's bring in the new interim superintendent. Let's have that conversation with them and with you and with our staff, and then let's make that change at that appropriate time. But I think to make a change of the entire org chart right before somebody new starts, I don't think it's appropriate.
I mean, Madam President, members of the board, this is the recommendation by the people who work here and the work they're doing. I don't know, you know, where the implication of offense comes. I mean, what we anticipate is an org chart will come back to you in the spring again. Like, this is a transition, which we do every spring, in which case, the interim person will be an integral part of that discussion. So this is really a bridge between the remainder of this year and FY 25-26, which on that, you remember the spring routine of bringing things before the board comes up again. Our concern is not so much who's going to feel bad, but the people who are here doing the work in the roles, and the fact that if the interim person doesn't know any of the people and any of the roles and will be learning them, you know, how long do you want to leave an org chart we're struggling with in place for that person to get up to speed? And then that also becomes one of the challenges of them, is that, you know, people don't feel effective in the roles and responsibilities they have now. So I don't, I mean, I understand the point. I think that we should be listening to and attending to the admin team who's giving the input.
Amy?
I can't say that when I first read this, I felt that, but I understand where you're coming from. But I do know that at our April retreat, where we were all there, and this was not a conversation of Dr. Freeman leaving, I felt I left that retreat talking about the fact that we depend on communication and public relations, and Dan was there, and we said he's doing an amazing job, and we did have a conversation of, if Dan needed more support to do what we keep telling him to do, as a board, we were willing to look at that and evaluate and move positions, create positions, increase pay. Like, that was a conversation I remember having, and it had nothing to do with this interim superintendent. So coming to now and him saying, and them saying, like, this is needed. It's something we talked about in April, saying that maybe it is needed, and if we're going to keep depending on it, then we said as a board we would consider it. And so I think this is us considering it. So that's where I took it when I read it.
And I don't have any disagreement as it relates to that, because I do recall that conversation vividly. I am in complete agreement that anyone who needs support should receive it. So even with the splitting of positions where benefits is no longer coupled with the other, I think that makes perfect sense to me. My concern, I think, solely is not that at all. I believe Dan does need the support. He's doing a phenomenal job, but if he needs some help, he needs some help. That goes without saying. My concern is adding additional people higher up in anticipation of someone. That's my only concern. Everything else, I think, makes perfect sense.
So just so I'm clear, so it sounds from what this discussion is that the benefits and the payroll, not an issue. Am I hearing that right? And the PIO getting more help, that's not an issue. So just to be clear, what's the issue then? Just so I'm clear, is the issue the top cabinets? All right, so let's just move that elephant, right? So it's the top cabinets getting more people under them, or more pay, or what's that? What's that look like?
Well, I think I'm okay with doing everything that's recommended.
Okay.
And I think we should review the need to add 2 new academy members when the new interim superintendent starts.
Okay.
That's what I believe we should do.
Okay. So if there's no more discussion, then it sounds like we'll need, because this is an action item, right? Was this an action item? Let me go look.
Yeah, Madam President, I mean, this is, like I said, the discussion that the leadership team's been having, and, you know, we feel like it's the best way to move forward to provide that support. I think the executive team feels like having HR and communications in the room makes us more effective, you know, whether I was going to be here or a new person was going to be here, or anybody was going to be here, with the expectations that are being put on people, especially But also considering, you're bringing somebody in from another state who's not familiar with the district at all. I guess my concern about how long it would take to bring this back and the work that would be done in the meantime, I don't think really, I think the amount of work being done by staff and the amount of interdependence we have in moving forward, without HR in the room or without communications in the room is a challenge for the executive team.
Okay.
So,
Amy?
So, Dr. Freeman, you've said that this comes back to us in the spring. We know that it comes back to us. I think that including communication and HR at this time in our district is vitally important. I feel like we're coming to our community and we're making this big change, and we're trying to meet their needs, and we're trying to meet everyone's needs between parents, staff, students, and that's kind of our goal. And so I'm not having an issue with bringing these two positions up, because I don't even want to associate them to people, but to positions up, and to bring them into the conversations that we as a board will be having for the next few months, 6 months. I was on the board when we had a bigger number of people on the DS and the conversations and things like that. And so we've been big, we've gone small, we've been big. I feel like we're going back to a larger DS team or E-team. My question becomes, if we make this change, and if in the future we decide that because of finances we need to go back down to leaner, I don't like the idea of lowering someone's salary or demoting them in a sense. And so I guess that's kind of where I'm a little uneasy in this.
Madam President, Member Salsnick, that's exactly the reason we didn't propose to make them chiefs. What we think is, we're growing 200 or 300 kids a year. Probably the need for more admin support is going to go up as the district grows. But we had the same rationale about asking the question, well, should we have 5 chiefs, or should we do this incrementally from director to executive director before considering putting another chief on the cabinet? And so our approach was exactly that, incremental, and not wanting to move somebody up and then move them back and move them up and move them back. That it's not really fair to people to do that. And that's the reason why they're as you look across there, they're above the directors but below the chiefs, because of the incremental change.
I think when I looked at this and thought about it, it does look interesting that you're doing it before an interim superintendent comes in. That was my first thought. Timing, right? But the more I hear everyone discuss different ideas, and you pointed out, they are executive directors. They're not chiefs. So that's more visible on this. And HR will play and has played a critical role, and doesn't go to, in just my dealings, heavy dealings in the past 6 weeks or 8 weeks during this whole interim, I relied solely on the HR person, where we call them executive director, whatever the title is. That was my go-to person. I didn't go to anyone else. I didn't ask permission to go, because they're the pulse of what's happening, what's fair, what's discriminatory, what has to be looked at, what the district does in general. So I think at first I was hesitant, but I think the more I think about it, it makes sense to have that person report directly to an interim superintendent, because that interim superintendent should lean heavy on HR and say, have you done this in the past? Is this discriminatory? Does this work? Is it legal? Because you rely heavily on HR to tell you all the legal things that has to happen. So I think that makes sense. As far as the PIO, I mean, most organizations have a PIO because you're the face. You're what makes us tick. And I do like the fact that you pointed out they're not chiefs. No offense to any. Again, looking at the position, I think the more I hear you discuss and I think about the roles, I do think it makes sense, forgetting that this person doesn't or does know or may not know what the structure is. Having them report directly to that person and take those chiefs out of that may even work out better because they're so valuable in the key components of the cabinetry. So I think hearing it has given me some new insight. So that's mine. Any other feedback? If not, we'll take a roll call, and I'll ask for an individual roll call. Or a motion, excuse me. I need a motion.
I move that the governing board approve the organizational chart effective upon approval and the communications specialist, benefits coordinator, payroll coordinator, executive director of communications, community relations supervisor, and executive director of talent recruitment and retention.
I'll second that and ask for an individual roll call.
Mrs. Reyes?
Yes.
Mrs. Soshanek?
Yes.
Mr. Ceniceros?
No.
Mrs. Barnett?
No.
So I'm going to look at the
Motion is
attorney.
moot.
We're a split board, so it doesn't go. Is that correct?
It
All right,
is.
so the motion fails, and the organizational chart will not move forward. Thank you. And at this point, we're going to move on to item 12, and we will go into recess to receive some legal advice pursuant to ASRS 438-43103, A3 and 4. The governing board may vote to hold an executive session, which we've done. So at this point, we'll convene into executive session. Yes, and we are asking if we could take just a 5-minute break for us to use the restroom. I'm sorry? Oh,
I move that we go into executive session.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will pass. We'll move into executive session. Thank you. Got hung up in my own little world.